Hi, my name is Maria and welcome to my channel MH Books, and today I'm filming something I call a casual Sunday catch-up, which is really a Friday reads on a Sunday. So I'm going to run through quite quickly. Welcome back to anybody who's been here before, and I'm going to go through what I read this week. So quickly, first of all, anybody who's seen this last week would probably remember I was reading Cycle the Werewolf by Stephen King. I didn't think it was going to be too good. I was completely wrong on this. It is very good. I am going to show the illustrations by Wrightson. So it's more of a short story and novella that's illustrated than a graphic novel. And I'm going to show something. So I'm going to give those who don't like gore 3 seconds to turn away. And I want to count the threes, okay? So you just don't have to look. So I showed this last week accidentally. 1, 2, 3. Sorry, somebody saw that accidentally. Yeah, so it's quite graphic. And the story is quite graphic like that. It's a proper horror novel. As per usual, Stephen King, he has a limited palette of characters, but what he does with his characters he does well. So I'm just going to demonstrate from this, because it's a short story or a long short story, you can actually just read out the snippets of how he illustrates a character. This is the father of one of the protagonists in the book. The little kid is wheelchair bound, and this is his dad. Okay, so his dad is Herman Kossel, like the food. So Herman Kossel is the phys ed's teacher at Tarker Mills Grammar School, and he almost always talks to his son in what Marty thinks of as his big dad's big pal voice. He always says, "Hey, hey," a great deal. The truth is, Marty makes Herman Kossel a little nervous. Herman lives in a world of violently active children, kids who run races, bash baseballs, swim rally sprints. And in the midst of directing all of this, he would sometimes look up and see Marty, somewhere close by, sitting in his wheelchair, watching. It made Herman nervous, and when he was nervous, he spoke in his big, bellowing, big pal voice and said, "Hey, hey," or "Doodly damn," and called Marty his little bitty buddy. So it's full of, short insights, because it's more or less a very short novella or very long short story. And because he's doing this, Stephen King doesn't get away with flowery prose as a general rule. But because he's doing this, as a short story, he's getting away with this brilliantly this time. This isn't the best one I picked out, but we'll pick this one, okay? It also illustrates how he's illustrating points about his characters quickly within the text. So let's see, where should we start with this one? Okay. Her store is failing by inches, and she weighs too much. But now on this night of dreams, with the moon a bitter blue through the frost-traced windows, it seems to her that love is still a possibility. Love in the scent of summer as he comes. So yeah, he has had a lot of fun with this. It's recommended. I think I just put this just now on Goodreads. This is recommended to those who have a library subscription, because it's very hard to get a hold of this book. It's extraordinarily expensive. So yeah, so fun novel for those who like horror, but that one is definitely horror, okay? My first time with Victober reads, I've completed there's 2 novellas in this book. The first one is Fairy House, and it's by Charlotte Riddell, who is a Victorian author from County Antrim who moved over to London. So when she was in County, her father was the sheriff of Antrim. He died, so she needed to support herself and her mother as a writer. And then I think she married somebody, and he had ridiculous debts, and so she had to pay his debts even after his death. So she has supported herself by writing. But the theme of money comes up a lot in this book, because obviously this is a very important factor in her actual life and how people. So there's a couple of characters in this. One of them is very spendthrifty, but the others just run through their money like nobody's business. So the book is narrated by and this is where Mr. Stafford Trevor, and it's I think people need to know this isn't really comes in on, so it's called Fairy House. It's in the collection Haunted Houses. There's very little ghost story in this. This is more Victorian read, and anybody who's expecting a ghost story should be warned. There's very little in it. I have actually marked where the first entry of the ghost happens on page 72. So about 180 pages, about 60 pages of it is about a house called Fairy House and a marriage within the house. And the husband and wife are probably very mismatched. The husband loves the wife, but she was far too young when she married him. The second part of the story is about the haunted house, and it's Crow Hall. I'll double check that and I'll put it down below. So it's about the third part of the story, which happens about 120 pages in, is where the characters from both parts of the story meet. Now, Mr. Trevor knows all parties in this story, so he's obviously the instigator of the meeting. And the third part is this wonderful Lady Mary character, who is the auntie of the current Duke. And this part of the country, there's only one Duke that you should know about. And she's fantastic. She's absolutely my favourite. She brought probably about 3.5 star story way up, just straight up to 5 just for her, because she was gorgeous. She just tells it as she sees it. And I really, really enjoyed her. The third part of the story is how the ghost part of the story is gonna solve the unhappy marriage part of the story. So it all ties up in the end, but at first it was very much, wasn't what I was expecting. But as a result, I am intrigued. I'm intrigued, I think I might be endeared in the future with Charlotte Riddell's writing, and I realised my actual library has a copy of one of her books. They're hard enough to get, even though she wrote 30 novels, 50 books altogether. So and I think I'll when I drop off this guy to the library, I might pick up one, because I realised it's on the shelf in my library. So Charlotte Riddell, so far from my Victober reads, is doing very well. And then those who saw the BookshelfAthon announcement, which was just at the last minute, Harriet Rosie decided we should read more this weekend. And actually this is a weekend I was planning to read more because I was exhausted and I needed to catch them up. So one of her challenges was to start a book. So I started the book I was going to start anyway, but was worrying me because I loved it so much as a child, and what if I didn't like it now? So Jane Eyre has been started. This fills all 5 challenges of October, as I keep saying. But I marked this little passage here. This is why Maria the child loved Jane Eyre, okay? Because she's so melodramatic. Okay, so here she goes. No, I know I should think well of myself, but it's not enough. If others don't love me, I would rather die than live. I cannot bear to be solitary and hated. Helen, look here, to gain some affection from you, or Miss Temple, or of any of those whom I truly love, I'd willingly submit to have the bone of my arm broken, or to let a bull toss me, or to stand behind a kicking horse, or let it dash its hoof at my chest. So, I think as a little kid, I wouldn't have been that little, I would have been a young teenager. I do, really, really wanted to be loved, and I don't think I saw how melodramatic that actually was as a scene. But and she's only supposed to be 10 there, but it's so true to a teenager. So I'm really enjoying Jane Brontë. I'm about 75 pages in at the moment. The third challenge in BookshelfAthon was to finish a book, and the book I finished already today is Slade House, which I started in the car on audio CD and finished in its physical form. When I took off the dust jacket to read it in the bath, I realised if the naked hardback is quite pretty too. Look at that. I have no idea. Is that a badger? What it has to do with Slade House. And I've read the book, so if I missed something, will somebody tell me? So Slade House is very much, I think it's a spin-off of The Bone Clocks by David Mitchell, to be honest. It's a story about a house, and every 9 years somebody is compelled to visit this house, and something terrible happens to them as a result. Okay, so in that sense it's a horror novel. It's very much a David Mitchell Bone Clocks novel. It exists in that world, and I don't know how people who've read this interpret it who have never read The Bone Clocks, because once you, I mean, as soon as you started to infer things from it, you went, oh, okay, I know what's happening. So I mean, this is 5-star. I just love The Bone Clocks. I mean, so I don't know what I would have felt like about this book in isolation without it. Oh, my nail varnish kind of matches the book. It's really hard. It's one of those books you cannot explain because it will give away everything. Okay, it's a short novella. Anybody who's read this before reading The Bone Clocks, tell me, does it work? Because it's a good way of going into into David Mitchell because The Bone Clocks itself is very, very long. And when I was reading it as a buddy read, and the other person gave up after about, I think there's about 5 different stories in Bone Clocks. And they've done similarly to this, actually, and that they're told in the first person. Yeah, and if I'd been more eloquent in this, I would have been remembered to say the thing about David Mitchell is when he writes in first person, you always know within a paragraph that's a different person writing this. He does his characters so bloody well. I mean, Stephen King is good. I've never met anybody. I've never met him, but I've never actually read anybody who writes his first person characters so well. You hear that voice. The voice, they all have different voices. They're amazingly drawn. Love them. And the last book is Slender Man. Okay. Most people have seen this before. Every time I put it on camera, I just get, oh, look at it, so shiny. Slender Man is an internet phenomenon, so I'm learning so much by just having picked up this book, and it's been done very well. It was originally a couple of photographs entered into a Photoshop competition, but had a creepy background story, and it was it's just one of those things that took off as an idea. It's sold as non-fiction, but it was created and it was actually inspired by a couple of like a Stephen King character and all the rest. And I think a H.P. Lovecraft character as well. So maybe, but it's okay if I'm wrong, by the way, because Slender Man only goes after young people, so I'm quite safe. I'm so mean. I've read 37 pages in. The book is told in a multimedia format similar to Illuminate. There's no graphics in it, but it's the same idea. So there's a journal entry so far. I've had police interview, some text messages, a recording somebody made on their phone, and the main protagonist so far is actually writing a short story based on a nightmare he's had. So again, it's told in those little snippets. Only 37 pages in, but so far it looks good. It looks intriguing. It is an excellent way to publish something that is horror and that crosses over is it fiction or is it not line. So by not releasing an author name was a very good idea. I wouldn't be surprised though, because Illuminate and those kind of things were written by 2 authors. That's more than one author writing this. I might be wrong. You'd love to find out who it was. So far I'm enjoying that one. It's just as well you never get to see some of the things I film. Okay. I forgot to talk about my audiobook, and so I'm reading Gilded Needles by Michael McDowell. I should have read a bit more of that by now, because I should have done my housework, and I was supposed to listen to it while I was doing my housework. So maybe later on, while this is uploading, because I can't use the internet anyway when this is uploading, so there you go. And it is set in 1882. It's historical fiction. It is a tale of revenge. It's about two families. One is well-to-do and has a judge amongst their hierarchy. The other one is a criminal family run by a woman that judge had put in jail previously and almost ruined her life. So the judge is trying to clean up the Devil's Triangle, where the criminal family live, and there's gonna be war, lads. Haven't read that far yet, but I suspect it. So Michael McDowell is quite a vivacious writer. When he writes horror, he just set it in the South, and he's more like Tennessee Williams or something like that. It's like this southern novel, and he takes his time and he sets his scene. And so I'm about 62% of the way into the book, and at the moment we've had a court case, and we've set up all the characters, but you know, the actual revenge is yet to take place, but it will. This is the way he seems to set up his book, so I'm looking forward to that, hoping it'll be good, and I'll tell you by the next wrap up, I suppose. So this is me wrapping up before I get carried away and this gets too long. I hope whatever you're reading you're enjoying it, and see you next time. Bye.